In chemistry, we're counting a lot of atoms. So many atoms that it would be really tedious to constantly have to count them and write out the number. So instead, we've rescaled them by coming up with a new unit. Now, much like a baker's dozen contains 13 objects, you see here, a mole is 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd objects. Now, I'm being vague when I say objects, and that's intentional. Any object would work here. You could write atoms, you could have molecules, you could have electrons, you could have cats if you had a big enough planet. Whatever you want to put there is fine. Just make sure you're being rigorous when you write it. Now, I'm often going to use a shorthand, and this is one that matches up with the calculator buttons that you'll have, and something that you'll be used to seeing if you've worked in Excel very much. Instead of writing the times 10 to the, and instead of making the power actually be raised as an exponent, we just replace that part with capital letter E. Some of your calculators might say EE in lowercase, which is terrible of them because they could confuse you and make you think of the natural logarithm E. Don't be thinking of E. That's not the one you want to be thinking of. Your calculator probably has a button like this or like this. That's how you want to have it and how you want to write it. And of course, if you're writing two E's, you might as well just write one, right? Okay. But that's the idea of it. We're just typing this in as a shorthand or writing this as a shorthand to make it easier for us to jot it down real quick. Now, we're going to call that number Avogadro's number. And of course, that's because it's named after someone named Avogadro. Now, carbon was used to define that number. If I were to take 12 grams of carbon, that would equal 1 mole of carbon atoms. So, when I have 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of carbon, that will weigh 12 grams. And if we look at the periodic table, we see that carbon is listed as being roughly 12 grams. It depends on what the isotope is. There's carbon-12 and there's carbon-13 and a few others that aren't very common. But the average mass that we'll find on Earth is 12.011 grams per mole because there's going to be both isotopes in it. Now, if I'm pointing at carbon-12, though, 12 grams of carbon-12 give me 1 mole of carbon atoms, which is 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. Make sure that you're comfortable with that unit. We're going to be doing lots of conversions, and we're going to be going through them all constantly through this course.